Welcome to the Deep Ruts podcast. I'm Brandon. I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Dayton, Ohio Toyota Off-Road Enthusiast, better known as DOTORE. There's been a lot of confusion around that name, so I just wanted to clear that up a little bit. A lot of people say it as DOTORE or other ways, but it is definitely DOTORE. And the premise behind that is when you think about a detour, if you will, you're designed to go around an obstacle, right? With DOTORE being an off-road group, we wanted to be able to go through those obstacles, so we do tour. But I'm very excited to be doing this first episode here. I'm joined here with my beautiful wife, Whitney. She's going to be hosting today. So in the future, I'll be hosting all of these. I'll be interviewing the members of our group. But today, I'm the one being interviewed. So Whitney is going to be our host. I'm going to let her take it from here. She's got a lot of great questions and stuff, and you guys are going to have an awesome opportunity today to learn a little bit more about me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here. I don't really like to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
I usually like to sit in the background, but I'm here to support you, support DOTORE. It's a great group of people. It's just been a crazy, wild ride. From what I was maybe 2, 3.
Yeah, and you guys probably, if you're an early member, you probably recognize some of Whitney's alien emojis with a peace sign or stuff like that. I kind of pushed her a little bit to do that. There were just a few of us, but I was trying to build some camaraderie and stuff in the group. So Whitney has been here through this entire wild ride. Like she said, those early days, starting out with just a few people. To now we've just hit over 1,500. So we have grown drastically. That's part of the reason we wanted to do this podcast, is being able to kind of give you guys the opportunity to learn more about the members associated with the group. So that's the whole premise behind Deep Ruts. There's a little bit of play on words there, if you've ever seen the deep cuts, like vinyls and things like that, they get a little bit deeper, and these podcasts are going to get a little bit deeper. We're going to kind of dig into people's history, their past, how they were brought up, but also getting into how they discovered this love for off-roading and Toyotas in general. So we're very excited to go through this with you today, but Whitney is very shy on camera, so I have to give her a very special thanks for being part of this and being willing to interview me today. So
Yeah, of course. I'm just excited to kick this off. We're going to get to know the DOTORE group better. Some of you may be really familiar with it. Some just maybe kind of watching in the background like me. I don't typically go out with them. But yeah, we're going to get to know Brandon a little better, learn how it all started, the vision that drives the group, and kind of what stands out in the off-road community, like what you guys do differently. So yeah, let's get right into it.
sure, yeah, let's do it.
I see you're ready. You got your bourbon. What are you drinking?
Yeah, so part of the thing I wanted to do with this podcast is a lot of us do really enjoy bourbon. I have quite a few bottles at home, so I wanted to be able to offer somebody a drink as we go through this. Obviously, we're not big on drinking while we're out on the trails and things like that. We understand there's a time and place for that. But once we get around that campfire, it is time to kind of release yourself a little bit and just kind of hang out and enjoy, right? But today I am drinking Eagle Rare. As we move through these, I'm going to allow whoever the guest is to choose a bottle out of my selection. And we'll share a drink as we kind of go through and do this podcast and learn a little bit more about each of those individuals. So, yeah, today it's Eagle Rare. Who knows what it might be tomorrow?
Well, that sounds good. I'll let you stick to the drinking. Let me see.
Have a little taste. Whitney has been trying bourbon a little bit here and there. We've been on a lot of tours,
Oh, no.
and
I'll let you stick to the bourbon part of this podcast.
Still not very fond of it, but we'll get her there. I still make her have a little sip every now and then. So.
Oh yeah, well you can keep that to yourself. I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about what DOTORE is for those who don't know. I know you guys are the ones putting it on, and a lot of your group is going to be listening to this, but let the viewers out there who don't know, what is DOTORE?
Yeah, so DOTORE, like I said in the beginning, it stands for Dayton, Ohio Toyota Off-Road Enthusiasts. Um, the reason and premise behind this is my whole life I've been involved around clubs or cars and that culture, and I really wanted to kind of build that for myself and the community, and bring some of that happiness to other people as well. So, it with off-roading in the name, we obviously do some off-roading, but that's not what it's all about. It could be anybody who just has maybe a stock vehicle and they're looking into doing some modifications and they want information on, people's tips and tricks on how they did it. So I wanted to be able to spread that knowledge around, whether, like Whitney said, if you're somebody brand new to the group and you don't know a lot of tools and things like that, you're not very knowledgeable about all that. That's perfectly fine. We have a lot of people in the group that are the opposite. They're extremely knowledgeable about that. They may have been techs for Toyota, or whatever line of life they're in, they have some experience as well. And I wanted to kind of bring those people together to help build that community. I think that's extremely important. There's a lot of clubs out there and cultures out there where people get excluded because they may not be in the in crowd or something like that. And, that's not something we wanted to have here at DOTORE. We wanted everybody to feel welcome, whether they're coming out on the trails with us, or, whether they're coming to a kayaking event. This upcoming Sunday, actually, we have a kayak outing. And so we do a variety of different things. I wouldn't say we're just an off-road group, but we are certainly a group of like-minded individuals, if you will.
Yeah. Now, when I first met you, you were into Volkswagens. You
Yeah.
convinced me to get a Volkswagen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where did this like love for Toyotas come from? Because I never heard you talk about it. So were you
Yeah.
always interested in Toyotas? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I wasn't always extremely interested in Toyota. So I was definitely heavily involved in Volkswagens and kind of that community. I kind of started actually with a 1983 GTI that my grandfather bought me. It was $300. I'm pretty sure he thought it was going to end up in the car crusher, but he's like, Brandon, do your thing. Yeah. So I bring home this GTI, and I don't have anywhere to put it because I still live at my parents' house. So I told my dad that I had to put it in the garage, and there's a 92 Camaro that is his baby that was in the garage at that time. So he was a little displeased, to be honest, but that transformed into getting a Jetta after that. I had a 1988 Mark II Jetta. Then I had a Cabrio, and then I had a couple of different Audis. And so my love for Volkswagens and stuff, I still enjoy those cars. I think they're extremely awesome. But the love of Toyota really started with my father. My dad came home one day, and the Toyota truck, it happens to be the one I own now. He came out, he drug me outside. He's like, man, come check out this truck. So I go check it out. It's really cool. I liked it from the start, but I was never really into like off-roading too much. Towards the end of my Volkswagen days, I had an Audi A4. It was kind of burning a lot of oil at the time, and I was like, man, I got to get rid of this thing. I got to figure out something else. I was kind of getting more involved with camping and wanting to do more of that recreational stuff. So I ended up trading that actually for a Jeep. I know I owned a Jeep at one point, people, but it was an
Short
XJ.
lived. Short lived.
Very short lived, yeah. So it was an XJ. It was lifted, had bigger tires and stuff. I never actually off-roaded it. It drove like absolute garbage, I'm gonna be honest with you. Had the death wobble. It had really bad body roll. I was afraid to drive it on the highway. But basically what had happened is my father had got sick. He was in the hospital, and he ended up passing away, and I was able to buy his truck. So that's kind of how I got involved with it. And it's really just become a passion of mine since then.
So where did your knowledge come from? So if you didn't have a background in it, you inherited this once your dad passed away. Where did the knowledge of what kind of tires, where did the knowledge of what kind of tents to buy, where
Sure.
to go off roading, where did the experience come from?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge. I took automotive in high school. So I do have basic knowledge of tools and operation on mechanics and things like that. So I have a little bit of knowledge, but as far as like the aftermarket stuff you're talking about, it was just through a lot of research. Being, very lucky to have such a resourceful group. There's a lot of people in our group that are very familiar with these vehicles and different types of equipment and, supplies and stuff like that. So they have been a huge help throughout all that. It's definitely been a process. My truck has been a little bit of a budget build. This is my daily driver, but I wanted to be able to go out on the trails and, kind of have some fun in it as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember the early days when you didn't know, uh, kind of like where to start, where to begin. I even questioned. I said, "How are you going to start an off-roading group if you've never even been off-roading?"
Yeah.
And that was a question I asked so many times.
Yeah.
So, how did you get others involved in that beginning process? Because you didn't have the experience, and I definitely knew you didn't have the experience because I've never been off-roading with you. So, like, how did you get people to join the group? How did you get people involved?
Yeah. So, the way that I kind of did that, it kind of started with me and just a couple of friends. Andy, I just got a new Forerunner at the time. Another one of my friends, Seth, was been really into Toyotas for a long time, and that's kind of something that I wanted to also get from this group is I wanted those resources to be able to figure out where to off road at.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to go out on the trails, but also have somebody that was knowledgeable of those trails. And basically, one day I was at a car wash and there was this dude a couple bays over in this white Forerunner. Looked like a cool dude. So I go over and talk to him, like, hey man, you ever like off road that thing or anything? And it happens to be Corey, who is one of our admins. You guys will get to see him in a later video. But he's like, yeah, man, I go to Haspin Acres. You want to go? So one time we go out to Haspin Acres. The first time we're going out there is a pretty funny story. It's about an hour and 45 minutes or so away from where we're at, but we get there about 45 minutes before we get there. It starts raining, and we get there. It's just me and Corey, nobody else, and we walk inside pretty early. Nobody around. This place is like a ghost town. And the lady comes out of the back, and she's like, "How can I help you guys?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're here to ride some trails today." And she's kind of like, "What are you guys riding trails in?" And we point outside to our Toyotas. I point to my truck and, Corey's Forerunner. And she kind of scoffs and laughs at us a little bit. And she's like, well, if you guys get stuck, here's the number to get you out. And so me and Corey are both kind of like, what? And Corey had been there a couple times, so I knew he was like somewhat familiar at least. But yeah, we went out. We had a blast. We rode those trails for a few hours. Haspin Acres is one of those places where you can quickly get yourself into trouble, and there's a lot of people that will attest to that. You will find out more of those stories along the way. But definitely, that's kind of how we started figuring out trails. From there, we started going down to Red River Gorge and doing a lot more of the more fun rides down there. So
Yeah, so I remember vaguely you talking about this Haspin Acres. I didn't really get it, and it was, I think you downplayed it a little bit
yeah.
because it is your daily driver, and you didn't have it like modified as much as you do now. So can you talk about like the early challenges that you had? Like, what were the early challenges with learning off roading, and then how you navigated those throughout the group and with others who face challenges the same way?
Sure. Yeah. So, some of my early challenges was definitely just kind of breaking that barrier and becoming comfortable in my vehicle. Um, the Tundra is a pretty large vehicle for the
Big Booty
trails.
Judy,
Yeah,
named for a
she's
reason.
she's earned that nickname, Big Booty Judy, for a reason. That's right. But the challenge is essentially mostly around her size, the size of this truck. Being able to maneuver that through some of these tighter trails is a very big challenge. But not only is it about that, it's also about the challenge of kind of managing, having a lot of people behind you on those trails. When we go out and lead these rides, you become responsible for a lot of the members as well. We obviously want to keep everybody safe. And that's something that's always kind of rolling through your head, especially as a newbie when it comes to this kind of a hobby, if you will. But being out on the trails, there were multiple times where, me and Corey would approach something and I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, is my truck capable of doing this? And it did. It made it through it. There were a couple things that, I knew I learned and I had to make changes for next time. But um, that is the biggest thing. I definitely would say the size of the vehicle and breaking that barrier and getting a little more comfortable. You know, a lot of people with a brand new vehicle are they think that when we go off-roading on these trails, it's just going to be a big wide open trail the whole time. It's not. Okay. There are parts of the trails that are like that, but
Oh, I've seen the videos.
a lot of the trails, it's pretty tight brush. You're
Yeah.
driving through anything from, you know, branches and rose thorns to stumps that could be sticking out and things that you have to avoid now. Um, but for us, it's super important to be able to stay on that trail. A lot of that, those trails are, you know, everything around it is private property. So if you get off that trail, you know, that can leave an imprint and a bad name in the off-road community. And to us, we want to keep that name and that reputation and everything at its highest priority. So
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you navigated it well. You care about the environment. Now it's called Deep Ruts for a reason, so let's get a little deep.
yeah,
Um, I know that challenges that are posed on the trails and with your rigs, but what are some of the life challenges? I know a lot of the members have become really close friends of yours, almost like family. They
sure.
come to our house, we come over here. We're actually at someone's property right now.
Yeah.
So tell me about what kind of life lessons and like how you guys support each other out on the trails.
Yeah. Um, so it wouldn't be possible without having that support on the trails. You know, it's important to be able to conquer those obstacles by working together. It's the same as anything really, whether you're at work or, you know, a slump in life or whatever it is. You have to overcome that, and sometimes you need a helping hand to pull you up out of it, right? So that's kind of again what we are all about on the trails, is being there for one another. You know, if you pull up to something and you're like, hey, I'm kind of unsure, I don't know if I can do this, man, we're more than happy to step out and help you get through that obstacle, you know, make you a little more comfortable with that. But the bonds that we have built are literally priceless. I mean, there are so many relationships that have been built around DOTORE. Like Whitney said, we're at a member's property right now that happens to host a couple events that we do a year. Shout out to Jeremy and the King family. We really appreciate you
Yes.
guys. You know, that kind of morale, you can't replace that. That's You don't want to be out there on the trails with somebody that you can't trust your life with, because what if you do need to trust your life with that person? It's extremely important to us to always keep that, work together throughout anything. You know, if there's certain things that have made your vehicle unsafe or something is broken, we are going to do our best to be able to kind of get you back on the road if something is broken, or to at least get help to you. But you know, we've had a lot of down things too. You know, with a big group, you don't always have the awesome camaraderie that we have. There's a few bad eggs and things happen, but working through that is important too. You know, so definitely the camaraderie, it can kind of go both ways. But I will say that we are much higher on the positive side than we are on that lower side. So
Oh yeah, I've
um,
seen, you guys give each other, if you see someone making mistakes and stuff like that, you don't just boot them out their group. You want to give it, like, it's like an opportunity to learn. It's like a lesson.
yeah,
Some people might not know the etiquette on the trails. I know that's happened. They might not know the rules when they go down there. It might be their first ride. So you guys
yeah,
definitely extend that hand, and definitely you bring people in until maybe they take advantage of it too much. But
yeah,
you don't, you give second chances. So it's not.
yeah. There has definitely been a lot of those challenges that you talk about. I mean, anything from like a blown tire to having dirt stuck in your brakes, or you know, having people have to be removed from certain situations and things like that. So, but the biggest thing is, you know, we continue to persevere through all of that. So, the camaraderie is great. I know a lot of these people I've built such great relationships with that I consider them my family. You know, I feel comfortable enough to call them in the middle of the night if I need something, and I know they would probably come. And that's kind of that's what I want to continue to see out of DOTORE. Keeping that family atmosphere, knowing that, if you're a new member and you want to bring your family out to a meet, you are more than welcome to do that. We want to make sure you feel comfortable enough to do that. So, yeah, I'm definitely all about that, and the relationships between the members that we've built.
Yeah, and I would say that that's what sets you apart from other groups. I know there's a lot of groups out there, and you probably seen them on Facebook. They just let anybody in, and then people are selling stuff. They're advertising. They're scamming. They're doing
Yeah.
all sorts of things. So, like, what would you say your core mission is? Is it that bond, that family oriented environment that everyone can feel included in the trails, even if you've never been out there before?
Yeah. I would definitely say it's partially that. The biggest core value, I think, is, spreading that wealth of knowledge that we have, being able to spread around those resources and help people get the knowledge they need about their vehicles. Um, it's it's tough because, a lot of these groups are in positions where they just want to make a dollar. I'm not trying to make a dollar. I want to be able to do these events, and we charge a couple of registration rides a year, but for us, that's basically to help provide the supplies and get you guys some memorabilia from that. So, the core value is definitely not about the money. It's more about the experience, building that family atmosphere, and getting more people involved in this, spreading a positive name in the off-road community. A lot of people, when they think about off-roaders, they do have a sour taste in their mouth
Yeah,
about that. People go out on private property and they mess up their land, and then those landowners have to go fix it. People also get kind of sloppy drunk, and they go out and
yeah.
trail ride and stuff like that, and that causes issues. So, it's really important to me that we're always being safe, and we're always being helpful and knowledgeable to the next person. So,
Yeah, I mean, I just know you spend countless hours in your office thinking of ways to better this community, to not only the off-road community, but the community in general. Like, can you just tell us some of the things that you guys have done? I know there's been things out of state, there's been things locally. Just what do you guys do for the community? Because it's a big passion of the group.
yeah, so we like to be involved in the community. We do food drives and things like that in the past. Anything from donating dog food and supplies to animal shelters, to being able to provide food, water, and supplies to the food bank or whatever it might be. We've definitely done a lot of stuff with a group that is down south in Kentucky. Kentucky Toyota Land Cruiser Association has been a huge part of what we have kind of wanted to be. They have a great vision. They do incredible stuff for their community, and I really enjoyed that. I was like, you know what, that is how it should be. I want to be able to give back to our community as well. So they do a couple of cleanup rides a year where they go down and go through some of the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway, and they just pick up trash. A lot of those events, we've brought back and filled, haul away dumpsters and things like that.
Yeah,
So that just goes to show, how important it is to kind of have that, that relationship and building that camaraderie with that off-road community. Um, we want to continue to be able to do stuff like that. Maybe it's toy drives around the holidays, or doing more food drives around like Thanksgiving or something like that. But anything that we can do to give back to the community, I'm definitely a supporter of that.
yeah. I know you've always been sentimental. I know you're a passionate person and you care a lot about people, but where did that come from? Like, where did you were you always like raised in a like, was your family like that? Like, how did you become so involved?
Yeah. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I would say it probably has a lot to do with my mom. My mom is an extremely caring, selfless individual, has been a
Yes.
huge supporter of me, obviously, but has been there for me every step of the way. I grew up mostly being raised by my mom. My dad was a truck driver, so he was on the road quite a bit. Not that I was far away from my dad. We still had a very good relationship, but I just spent a lot more time with my mom. But my mom always kind of taught me what was right, from the go.
Yeah.
If you do something and you feel bad about it, obviously there's a reason you feel bad about it. So say you're sorry, make sure it's heartfelt and you move on from that. But definitely, I think my mom is probably the biggest reason for that. But also just experiences that I've had through life have, you know, morphed me a little bit or molded me rather as a person, and have definitely helped that. But I want to be helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
If you're out on the trails and you see somebody broken down, I want to be that person that's like, hey, let's get you back on the road, let's get you home. Um, just think of the smile that you leave on that person's face, right? That smile is why I do all this. So
Yeah. I would definitely say your mom would has helped
yeah,
shape you.
sure.
Still to this day, she's shaping you. Yeah, she's definitely best mother-in-law I could have asked for. So, um, yeah. So let's talk about kind of like the future of DOTORE.
Yeah.
Where do you see this group going? I know we're at 1,500 members. Crazy. It's been a wild journey to get here. I know you're going to do a raffle. He does some amazing raffles and big milestones. So what does the future look like for this group?
Yeah, so giveaway for sure. We're going to be doing our 1,500 member giveaway here pretty soon. I've had a lot of experience doing giveaways in our group in the past, and that is thanks to a lot of great members and great vendors and stuff that we have in our group. Without those people, I wouldn't be able to do that. So it's the support of them that really makes our group very different from a lot of those groups. Again, just selfless people willing to help, donate, and put that smile on people's face. But the future, I definitely want to do more events. Right now we have a couple of trail rides a year, usually like a spring ride and a fall ride, and then we have a lot of pop-up events in between there, whether it's a donut meetup in a parking lot or doing the kayak thing that I had mentioned earlier. But I would like to see more of those events on the trail, but also more of the community outreach stuff too. I want to be able to give back to the community like we talked about. Um, but the future, I mean, who knows? If you would have asked me this 2 years ago, I would have never thought that 1,500 was in the future. So hitting that number has been quite a shocker for us. It may grow. We may get to 2,000 or 5,000. I don't know.
Either way,
You
you're having
know,
a good time.
Either way, we're having a great time and we're learning throughout the process. So, I would have never thought we were doing this podcast. This has been talked about. People have asked us to do this for a long time. So here we are. It might not be the best podcast you've ever heard, but we're trying. We're trying to get you some information. So I think that's kind of an open-ended question. I think, I want to see what our group has to offer. Okay. It's not just about what I want to do with the group. I value our members a lot. That's the reason we are what we are.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to be able to kind of, help out with their visions. I'd like to see us go on some bigger trips further away. We're doing a Wind Rock trip pretty much every year now. We've done a couple of those, and that's been a blast. But moving even further than Windrock, going out west. I think that would all be fun. Getting out to the Overland Expos and kind of seeing all that excitement around the new equipment and new products that are offered. I think that would all be super awesome. But yeah, I think any time that there is an event or you have an idea for an event, let me know. Or if it's something you want to share in the group, do it. If there's a problem with it at all, we're gonna let you know. But if there's something that you're like, hey, we've got this group outing this weekend, we're going kayaking, let us know. Some of
Yeah.
us might want to tag along. So, but yeah, I don't know exactly where it'll go, but right now we're riding that wave and we're having a blast while we're doing it.
Awesome. So for those who are listening that may not be part of DOTORE, for those again who have been in the group for a while or even new and they've been sitting back, how can they get involved? Like, what do you want to see from them? I know we'd love to see you out at events. If I'm not there, he would definitely love to see you out at events. So how can they get involved?
Yeah. So, um, attending events is definitely the best way. Coming out, meeting face to face with the people that make this group what it is. That interaction is, again, that's priceless. The Facebook group is definitely the most active portion of DOTORE and everything that surrounds that. So we do have a DOTORE business page. It's Dayton, Ohio Toyota Off-Road Enthusiasts on Facebook. We also have the Facebook group itself, which is Dayton, Ohio Toyota Off-Road Enthusiasts. We're on Instagram. That is DOTORE 4x4. We do have a website now, and that is DOTORE4x4.com. We've got a merch store. We're trying to do everything we can, to kind of get the word out there. But yeah, I mean, I've got business cards, and that's kind of how all this started a little bit.
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch on that. Yeah, tell them about the business cards. This is a wild
Yeah.
story.
So Whitney is super fond of this. I would often pull up against vehicles, and I'd be like, "Hey, put this card in their window, right?" And she's like, "Come on, don't make me do this." But yeah, I mean, like I said, I went and talked to Corey at the car wash, and here we are. Corey's now my first admin in the group. He was the first one. But it's about talking to those people that are around you. Um, you know, how many times have you gone somewhere and there been a cool Toyota in the parking lot and you park next to it? I know you've done it. I know you've done it. So
Yeah.
leave a card for those people. They might not be in the group. If you need cards, let me know. I can get you some of those. But basically, that just has our information on there. Again, we're not a paid group or anything like that. So, as long as you're into Toyotas and you've got that off road and outdoor, kind of process, and want to do stuff like that, we're happy to have you. Even if you're not into off-roading and you're just into Toyotas, come hang out. You know what I mean? We've got people from all walks of life, so don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us in the group, or post something up, comment on other people's stuff. We love to have that interaction. If you got questions now, post them down below. I'll be happy to answer any of them.
Yeah, I'll never forget those days of putting. A lot of you early members I probably jumped out of the car in the middle of the road and put a card on your windshield or wherever. So yeah, that was some crazy times. Well, I really appreciate you letting me ask you questions, letting people see who I am, because I don't typically like to be in the center of attention. But yeah, I'm so excited to see where DOTORE goes. I'm excited to see more people get involved. It's just such a great organization that you're creating, and such a great environment for people to get out there and explore.
Yeah.
What do you always tell people?
Hey, you never know. You might just meet your new best friend. So that's been a big part of what I've said, because it's true. There are a lot of members that have met people through the group, and they now spend a lot of their free time together, hanging out and doing projects and just having fun and living life. And again, that's kind of what it's all about. So um, you know, we're happy to have you. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do, being included in the group. Your knowledge, again, like I said, those resources, be able to spread those to everybody. That's important to be able to share that with the community. And yeah, let's continue to have fun. I want to do more trips and get out there and just make memories. I think that's great, guys. So thank you, Whitney, for interviewing me and sticking through your fears and being
Yeah,
on camera with
yeah.
me.
Well, you're
So
welcome.
I love you, honey. All right, guys. Well, we will be back again, hopefully within about the next month or so. I'm going to try to be doing these once a month. It'll start with our admin team, work through kind of getting you some knowledge on who those people are, working into our trail team, and then also all the members of the group. So if you want to be a member, or not a member, but if you want to be a member, definitely join us too. Go to the Facebook group and get involved there. But if you want to be interviewed, reach out to. We'll get you put on a list for that. But until next time, let's go places, guys.